Hi, I'm Aaron. I'd like to read you the story of St. Peter Claver from this book, Stories of the Saints by Carrie Wallace with pictures by Nick Thornborough. Peter, the doorkeeper at his school called after him, when you grow up, God wants you to be a priest in the new world. He said the same thing every day, and when Peter finished school, he did go to the New World, which is what people in Europe called North and South America, because they'd only just discovered those lands. Peter was assigned to work as a priest in Cartagena, Colombia, one of the New World's most prosperous import cities, but it was also the biggest slave port in the Americas. Every year, thousands of men and women from Africa were brought to Cartagena on boats so dirty and crowded that a third of them died on the way. The people who survived the crossing were sick, hungry, and terrified when they arrived. Peter met every ship full of people who were about to be sold into slavery. As soon as each ship docked, he climbed on board and refused to leave until he had been allowed to care for everyone who was there. He nursed the sick, and he buried the dead. He begged for food all over town so that he could give fruit and bread and medicine to the people from the ships. Before we try to speak with our lips, he said, we must speak with our hands by giving. Because the people who arrived on the boat spoke so many different languages, he and his helper used pictures to tell them about God. He asked interpreters to translate his words. If the people on the boats were willing, he baptized them. Perhaps as many as 300,000 people during the 40 years he worked on the ships. But when Peter welcomed people living in slavery into Cartagena's churches, the fashionable women in town refused to come in. Some people even claimed that Africans didn't have souls. They accused Peter of blasphemy for baptizing them. Peter didn't forget about the people he baptized after they left the ships. He visited them in the mines and on the plantations where they were forced to work. Word of his good work had spread, so the plantation owners were eager to spend time with him. They offered to let him stay in their mansions, but he refused. Instead, Peter stayed in the squalid quarters where the people were held in slavery. He reminded the slaveholders that the people who worked for them were Christians and deserved to be treated as their brothers and sisters. He fought for laws that allowed people living in slavery to get married and keep their families together, and he fought for laws to end slavery for good. Peter wore a cloak everywhere he went, which he shared with anyone in need. Sometimes his cloak served as a cover for lepers. Sometimes it was a pillow for the sick, and sometimes it was a cot to carry away the dead. People said it always gave off a sweet smell. Others believed it had the power to heal. The edge of it was always ragged because so many people pulled off pieces. Finally, Peter Claver got sick himself. For the last 4 years of his life, he couldn't leave his bed. But in his dying days, thousands of people crowded into his room to kiss Peter's hands and feet and take away any relic they could find to remember him, until his whole room was picked clean. Thanks for listening.